It has become an impressive show, and I was convention chair 5 years ago when it was the first year back in the convention center, and to know that it grew from 200,000 square feet to over 800,000 square feet. It's just amazing to watch what this club has become in a relatively short period of time is pretty fantastic. I think we've got slightly less than 1,000. We've got 1,800 booths, roughly 975 exhibitors. Yeah, there's an element of each in all of it. I mean, you have to have a big picture. And our big picture, and I wish I could think of it. I helped draft it. But the DSC has a mission statement. It's a society that values wildlife. And we hunters all understand that hunters value wildlife.
Welcome to the RNA Outdoors podcast, fueled by Ripcord Arrow Rest and First Light Hunting Apparel. At RNA, we are public land DIY conservationists that love to share our passion for the outdoors. So join us and our team as we interview professionals in the industry to share insight knowledge that helps make hunters and anglers more successful. Hey listeners, subscribers, and fellow outdoorsmen and women. This is your host, Lucas Paw, and I'm excited to tell you about some of the sponsors that continue to help make this podcast not only happen, but grow and thrive in this digital world of audio content. This podcast is brought to you by Ripcord Arrow Rest, the bow hunter's #1 fall-away rest on the market. Ripcord is known for 100% full-time arrow containment and their patented drop-dead brake system that eliminates launcher bounce back. Best of all, Ripcord is backed by their rock-solid guarantee. If the original owner has a part break for any reason, it will be repaired or replaced at no charge. And did I mention, Ripcord is located in southwest Montana, where all their products are made with pride in America. Check them out at ripcordarrowrest.com and on their social media feeds. This podcast is brought to you by First Light Clothing and Hunting Apparel. Born in the Rockies in central Idaho, First Light's mission is to create simple, yet proven, versatile gear that provides comfort and performance in any situation while working to promote the pursuit of ethical hunting and stewardship. I recently joined the First Light Pro Staff team and have continued to be impressed year after year in their innovations in engineering of merino wool fabrics. 10 years ago, they started putting out wool fabrics with camo patterns, and immediately this changed the game. Since then, they offer multiple layering systems and kits in various proprietary patterns and continue to raise the bar with their competition. Find them online at firstlight.com or under their social media feeds. Go farther, stay longer.
An opportunity to pick on Kim on the podcast where we nationally do it.
Considering he's sitting right there.
Yeah, so
I think it would only be necessary.
Kim's name should come up as much as possible.
Sooner or later, the vibes are going to work their way down the table, and he's going to understand it.
I could get a mic ready for him, but he looks like he's pretty busy. So
this is the most work I've seen out of him in a long time. I don't know how you guys got this.
But that's why I like to share a table with him, because I'm never at the table for the foundation, and Kim's always here. Or if he's not at the table promoting the chapters, he's working the floor. So
that's fantastic.
All right, welcome back, listeners. Jason and I are here again at the Dallas Safari Club show here in Dallas, Texas. We've been blessed with good weather so far. Plane travel was good. Last night we attended the Weatherby Award, had a great evening watching Craig Boddington receive that. And here today at the actual DSC show, and obviously it's been a great turnout so far for the first day on Thursday, and very fortunate to spend a little bit of time with actually who currently is the DSC Foundation President, Richard Cheatham, who is also a previous DSC President, which I think a lot of insight and a lot of information. I think part of what Jason and I wanted to do was really understand, what is Dallas Safari, and what is the history behind it. I mean, everyone obviously hears Safari Club International, but DSC relatively a little bit newer organization. So part of what our goal was to sit down with Kim. In this case, we'll be talking about Kim later.
We'll talk about Kim later. That's a great idea.
But I think we definitely have a good agenda here for Richard, and just excited here to talk to Richard. So anyway, Richard, welcome to the R&E Outdoors podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you guys.
Absolutely.
And appreciate the fact that y'all are here.
Yeah. No,
Love it. This is an impressive show.
Well,
First time.
We're looking forward to having y'all back in May, too. But, yeah, it has become an impressive show. And I was convention chair 5 years ago when it was the first year back in the convention center. And to know that it grew from 200,000 square feet to over 800,000 square feet.
That's incredible.
It's just amazing to watch what this club has become in a relatively short period of time is pretty fantastic.
How many exhibitors do you have here?
I think we've got slightly less than 1,000. We've got 1,800 booths, roughly 975 exhibitors, and we actually. A couple of years ago, we realized we'd gotten too big. There were parts of the hall I'd never seen for a couple of years because you go back into the far reaches. I'd never actually walked that part of the floor.
You can get lost in here. There's no doubt.
Well, and I tell people that you used to be able to see everything in a day, and you really have to spend 2 or 3 days here.
Sure.
Otherwise, you're going to wear yourself out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Richard, again, welcome, and thanks for being here. Part of what we want to do is dedicate, this podcast to the Dallas Safari Club and really understand, really take us through the journey. So, thinking back, 1982, DSC's established, and just kind of give us a little history, if you will, about the club.
It really is an interesting history, and quite coincidentally, probably in the last 9 or 10 months, I found a legal file that had to do with the split between Dallas Safari Club and what was a chapter of SCI and SCI. And I'd heard lots of stories about what happened, but I didn't know. I'd never seen the actual documentation. But Dallas was a chapter of SCI, along with Houston and Sacramento and other organizations. And there was a little bit of a rift in the 80s. And it ultimately resulted in a fairly messy divorce, litigation being filed, I think 3 or 4 separate lawsuits that were being filed. And eventually, Dallas and a few other chapters remained independent. Dallas Safari Club was formed, actually, and as a 501c4 as opposed to a 3, and we'll talk about that later. But Dallas just didn't ever come back to the fold, and began with a very, very small convention in the Hyatt Regency Bear Creek DFW hotel in the basement, and at the evenings they'd push the few booths out of the way and set up banquet tables and have it all in there. And in fact, I think I was a young law student when that happened, and I started going to the conventions right about then, and so I was able to watch. I didn't get heavily involved until later, but I was able to watch it from the very beginning. But yeah, we started off as a chapter of Safari Club International.
Wow. So 36 years. And so we're here today, and obviously leaps and bounds that this organization has done. But maybe talk a little bit about, just the process around membership and the number of chapters. From what I understand, I'm looking on the website, I'm starting to see chapters in Texas, outside of Texas. Maybe talk a little bit about how that process has worked over time.
Sure. We have a couple of different classes of membership, and because we were forever a regional organization, we have voting members that live in the 5-county area, and those are the people, for the most part, are going to know the people better that are coming up through the leadership ranks. We have an associate membership for anybody that's outside of that. We have a life membership that also carries voting rights, and anybody can be a life member. And we're working on right now, to benefit the foundation, we're working on a special form of life membership, still a regular life membership, but a heightened level for people that I think our life membership costs $1,500. Some people, once they pay that, they're perfectly happy to continue to support the club, and we need to give them an opportunity and a venue to do that.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Chapter standpoint, I think Kim announced last night, Kim Rapley, our chapter coordinator, announced last night the formation of the Wyoming chapter, and if I'm not mistaken, that's our 9th chapter. And
wow.
we have some chapters that cover the entire states and others that just cover regions. We have 3 or 4 chapters in Texas, San Antonio, Permian Basin, and Austin, and Kim and I were talking about maybe doing one right down Tom Landry Turnpike over in Fort Worth.
That'd be fun.
So
it's interesting because when I attend a lot of the trade shows and life member of NRA and a lot of the organizations, but when I think of Dallas Safari, I don't think anything outside of Texas.
Right.
Which you say Wyoming, and then you hear you want to branch out into California. I think it's interesting. Your guys' model is not just Texas-based.
Well, and the chapter program, well, it wasn't a unanimously supported decision. It's relatively new. It's only within the last couple of years, and we dealt with the issue of the fact that it's Dallas Safari Club, and our logo now features more DSC, but about the same time we were having these discussions, all of a sudden DSC kind of began to gain international stature, and so we worried less about the fact that we might be perceived as a regional organization because people were recognizing us nationally and internationally. We became members of the International Union for Conservation of Nature, the largest governmental body, arm of the United Nations that sets and establishes or recommends all policy that deals with wildlife and wilderness. And so we were able to achieve something that I think no one ever thought we could, and that kind of made us think, well, maybe we don't have to change the brand a little bit.
Sure.
So
yeah, that's interesting.
Well, and segueing that from regional to national, you guys just recently got your 501c3 status?
Well, we actually decided to form a separate 501c3 foundation. DSC as a C4 cannot solicit or raise money that is tax deductible. And so DSC as a 4 was able to conduct the auctions and give grants to support its charitable purpose. But there are a lot of people that still want to support what we do, and if we can offer them a tax deduction for what they do, great. So we decided to form a separate 501c3 that is wholly controlled. The only member of it is DSC. So it's the DSC votes for the board. DSC is in complete control over it. It's a little harder to get it done from an IRS standpoint, but we were able to get it done. We actually formed it in 2015 and got our tax status in 2016. So we're really just into our second full year of being illegal.
Well, and that's an important thing in our world to be able to do that. And then you had mentioned earlier before we actually went on live, sorry, people are waving at us as we're trying to talk on this. This is pretty cool. That now you have a special program that you're doing, that you're raising funds for, and I think that's going to outfitters that were, I think you could better describe it here.
Sure. Probably, well, there were 3 or 4 of us over the last 10 years. We all knew somebody that had been killed or seriously injured while providing professional hunting services. And independently, we all thought, well, what can we do for these people? And one night, probably 3 or 4 years ago, sitting around a campfire, a few of us, I brought it up, and a few of us said, why don't we do something? So we collectively came up with the idea to create another 501c3 foundation that is specifically designed to provide financial relief to professional hunters and guides and their staff who are either seriously injured, or killed while providing professional hunting services. And in that very first year, there was a gentleman who got stuck by Cape Buffalo. He actually had difficulties in his recovery process, and we made 2 separate grants for him. And it's a completely voluntary charitable deal. We don't ask the exhibitors to contribute to it. It's all money that DSC, the foundation, the Frontline Foundation, raises. And so it was very well received. We decided that there was still a segment that wasn't being served after we realized that a lot of the professional hunters, and they don't get credit for it, but they are heavily involved in providing anti-poaching services as a part of their duties.
Very much so.
And so we thought, gosh, those guys are really on the front line. And those are the guys, when you're walking into a poacher's camp, your odds are probably significantly higher of getting hurt,
for sure,
as opposed to getting stuck by an elephant or buffalo. So we expanded the scope. And so, unfortunately, we quickly had to make a grant to support it. Even whether it's a professional hunter, you hate that you have to do this, but you're thrilled that you're able to.
Sure.
And the way we set it up, and the reason we set it up the way we did is when the money's needed, it's needed quickly. Other organizations and groups have tried to raise money, and it takes 60 or 90 days or sometimes longer. But when these people, when you lose a spouse and suddenly your income is cut off, you need it right then. Some of these people most of them don't have health insurance. They don't have disability insurance. So when they're out. They have no money coming in. So we're very proud of it. It's one of the things that I look back on and think is one of the best things we've done.
Well, and that's interesting that you mentioned that, because we had just had lunch with Conrad from CraigBoddington.com, and they, made some huge videos about the anti-poaching patrols, and he said it was interesting. I don't think the videos and the TV snippets and that kind of thing were super popular in regards to ratings and things like that, which really is kind of hard to publicize. But as hunters and conservationists like we are, those are things that we have to do that as a hunting organization. If you are managing an area and all of a sudden you got 50 poachers that come in and they're killing all the animals out of that area, well, that's the revenue that keeps that whole area alive, and we can't have that.
And what people don't realize on the outside is that it's indiscriminate killing. You're not just killing the older post-productive male. You're killing the females. You're killing the young. You're killing.
It's intention.
It's intent, and its devastation effects are far, far-reaching. And it's interesting you brought up Craig, because Craig's been working a lot with Mark Haldane and Zambezi Delta Safaris, and a lot of that video you saw came from there.
The Seed and Spark.
Yeah,
production.
We've been supporting Haldane and Zambezi Delta for a long time. Mark was nice enough to paint one of their helicopters with the DSC colors and logo, and we fund his anti-poaching patrol. And one of the side benefits from it is it drives them out. I mean, Mark controls a Kutata concession numbers, I think 10 and 11 over there, and so they've been so successful that they're pushing people out of those concessions, and he's now expanding the flights to neighboring concessions and pushing them even further. And what we realized, and Ivan Carter's going to say something about this the other night, for what we give Mark, if you multiply that by 10 times, it's the impact is significant. If you multiply it by 50, it's going to be unbelievable. So we're looking for more and more anti-poaching programs. We support them in Tanzania and Zimbabwe and Zambia with Haldane, and we have several in South Africa, and we're looking for one or two in Namibia right now.
Marvelous. That's
great
cool stuff.
Just back real quick, circling back, Richard, on membership. So are there multiple levels of membership? I know you kind of went to life member and that, but I mean, can a guy entry level get in at the $25, $35 supporting level?
We've got a youth membership that I believe is about 25 or 30, and I think the cutoff there is 25. I think we have the associate membership that I talked about that's a non-voting is a $75 membership.
Okay.
We also have several, I think we might even have one or two that levels that are a discount if it's a 3-year membership as opposed to a life membership. And for anybody that's thinking about coming to the convention or coming to the convention in the future, we always have membership specials that allow you to get passes that would normally cost $20 to get in the door, but joining up for a membership gets you a couple of passes, so your net effective for a membership is about half of what it would normally be.
And let me tell those people that are listening, this show is impressive. Yeah. Richard, I mean, I normally give Kim credit for it, but I know that he's not doing anything really. I can't even get him to react. He's so anti.
I go sit next to him. And
exactly. But I have to say that, I mean, I'm just standing in one place right now, and there's a sea of booths for 180 plus degrees around me. I see a crocodile over there. I see ibex. I see elk. I see mule deer. It's awe-inspiring. It really is.
Every year I'm amazed. And at some point we had, in fact, it was right up behind us where we're sitting, we had a camera mounted up there, and we took time-lapse of it from concrete floor to concrete floor, from start to finish before anything was moved in. And it is amazing. It's amazing to know that in 2 days we basically come to where we have now.
Go from concrete floor to all of this.
To this. And then on move-out, once we close it at 3:30 on Sunday, probably by about 10:30 on Sunday night, it's concrete again.
Wow!
So I don't know how
hunters, we move quick. Right?
That's right.
We know how to move in and move out.
That's right.
So, Richard, just kind of touching on the convention, any rough idea how many exhibitors are in the room right now?
Yeah, I think right under 1,000. I think we have roughly 1,800 or 1,900 booths occupied by about 975 or almost 980 exhibitors. I may be off a little bit, but and then last year, attendance-wise, we probably had 55 or 60,000 people that came to the door.
Nice.
And this year, and we also had some bad weather last year. We actually had snow blowing in on one day. Of course, it melted right away. But in Dallas, it shuts things down.
Sure.
We have no reason to believe that the attendance won't be at least as much, if not more, than we had last year. So
that's a good flow
incredible.
of people.
Yeah.
So as a part of the convention, obviously there's seminars, there's auctions that go on. Maybe just kind of speak to some of the stuff that goes on during the actual convention, during the day.
We only have daytime. We don't have any auctions. We don't pull anybody off the floor. We want the exhibitors to be able to maximize their time with the attendees. But last night we had our exhibitor welcome party, another little perk that we do to show our appreciation for the exhibitors. And we had a small auction there. And then this morning, Thursday morning and Friday morning. Thursday is a low-key day in terms of until we get to the evening. We have an evening banquet every night. And then on Friday we have a very popular ladies' luncheon that takes place beginning about 10 o'clock. And on Saturday we have a life member breakfast that and also has an auction associated with that. Ladies' luncheon does as well. We try not to schedule events that are going to take people off the floor, because these people here have traveled from all corners of the world to be here, and they're here for a specific purpose, and we want everybody to have as successful a show as they possibly can, and that means having interested people in front of them.
Yeah, I think that's neat. I mean, when you're right, when you look at the different booths, I mean, I don't see a lot of domestic Colorado, Texas booths. They're out there, but what you're seeing is Spain and Africa, and I mean,
every corner of the world.
It's a big investment to come out here, so you want them to be able to invest their time with their clients.
And I think that's one of the things that's different about us than other organizations, and one of the things is our volunteer corps, but we've always had the interest of the exhibitor front and center. When we have an issue that with a booth size, construction, or whatever, we work it out. We purposely don't schedule events to take people off the floor for the reasons we've talked about. Mm-hmm. We have the exhibitor welcome party. We offer the exhibitors a free exhibitor breakfast every day in the morning that they all appreciate. Things like the DSC Frontline Foundation. We want to make sure that they know that we really appreciate everything they go through to not only to come, but our ability to make charitable grants comes from the auction items that they donate, and it's a relationship that clearly doesn't work without their support. And I think they know we like them, and so it's a good thing.
We noticed that you've got some pretty good sized raffles going on here, and the silent auction, we kind of walked over that direction. I don't think they were prepared for us. We were here so early, but that was pretty impressive. I mean, you must have had 40 or 50 hunts just listed in the silent auction.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow.
It's interesting. Over the years, if you were looking for a deal, for quite a while, Thursday night was the night to come. That was nobody, for whatever reason, that was the best deal. And then people figured it out, and Thursday wasn't a good deal anymore. and now it's still some of the best buys are in the silent auction.
Sure. So. Yeah, because I mean, you figure not everyone's probably going through the silent auction, and for some of the amount of African hunts, I mean, we saw, a ton of African hunts. Yeah. There's going to be some great deals, pockets of deals in there that people just aren't going to see, and people take advantage of.
Yeah, and there's a less of an impulse buy element too. You're in the banquet and you've had a few cocktails, and so so there's somebody buying that really doesn't want that hunt, but they want to. Yeah.
Now listen,
we
know Kim is a professional at making people do stuff like that, but he's back to working again. Can't dig on him too much.
So, Richard, you spoke just briefly about volunteers. I do want to spend some time talking about volunteers, because I've been a volunteer. I've been a part of multitude of NRA fundraiser events where we've done some amazing things. Taking dinners that did this and exponentially grew them into some of the largest dinners in the state. But we could never do that without people that show up that want nothing but maybe a hat or a coffee mug at the end of the day, you know, which is at least that, right? I mean, at minimum.
Sure.
But without those volunteers, I mean, we can't do these types of things and raise these types of things, allow people to provide money to, you know, families that have lost one of their, you know, loved ones. So maybe talk a little bit about the volunteer in your eyes and kind of what you look for as a volunteer for the foundation.
Yeah, we refer to them as the DSC 100 because it used to be 100 volunteers. And it quickly turned into 500. And so, as you said, you can't do something like this. You can't. We have a small staff. We may have 12 paid staff people that work for DSC, and they do an incredible job. But we depend on volunteers, and then we give them a shirt. Boy, people, when we run out, all hell breaks loose to find more shirts.
Where's my shirt?
But now we call it the DSC 100 because it's the volunteers that give 100%. And that's where I started. I was not heavily involved, and somebody asked me to run a committee of one, and I did. And I didn't have any idea what I was supposed to be doing, but I moved into the move-in, move-out role, which was probably one of the bigger committees. And that's one, again, to show the exhibitors that we appreciate them. We have volunteers that are waiting there to help them unload their vehicle, put it on a cart. We don't set it up for them, but we take it to their booth and again, let them know how much we appreciate. So it's a critical part of what we do. And it's also another one of those things that sets us apart from other organizations.
Yeah. So like, I mean, a convention like this, I mean, how many volunteers would you guess on average, I mean, are in the building now just helping?
What does it take? 70 or 80 today right now. On the front end and the back end, you're probably going to have more. Okay. But maybe as many as 100 every day. I mean, we've got people working security. We have a kind of an elite core that called the floor managers that basically have the authority to make tough decisions. We have hospitality in the morning, pushing coffee carts around. It's just. At one point, before I was a convention chair, I thought I'm going to try to serve on every single committee to see what they do, and I didn't, but I was close to it. But boy, it just amazes me. And again, it's one of those things that makes the exhibitors really appreciate the effort.
Sure.
Well, it takes a lot. I mean, putting on a show like this, I mean, it's not a hey, let's just go do that type of a thought. You know, this is serious stuff right now.
And it's interesting. We the month before, it is crazy. And I'm a lawyer. I got a private practice. I don't do this for a living, but I'm heavily involved. And boy, when somebody throws a curve at you or asks you to do something, I had somebody ask me 3 or 4 days ago to help them out, and it probably took an hour, but it was an hour I didn't have. And I'm like, boy, forget about me. The people that are running this convention, our executive director, there's no sleep from about Thanksgiving.
Are you trying to be nice to Kim again?
Yeah.
I'm not taking it. He skipped out on this podcast.
He's pretending like he can't hear us right now.
Yeah, and he's pretending like he actually works.
I think he's got selective hearing right now because I see him smiling. But
wait till I get him on the mountain hunting one of these days.
Richard, one of the things I saw on the website was the safety extravaganza. So the shooting archery field excellently trials for youth. Maybe you could speak a little bit about that or kind of what that program is.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that actually got me involved in the club a long time ago. We have another 501c3 that we've had a long-time relationship with. It used to be called Dallas Ecological Foundation. It's now the Outdoor Tomorrow Foundation. That's developed a public school curriculum that's probably services about 30,000 students a year, and maybe 30,000 a semester. And they teach outdoor skills, and the idea is, and some aspects you can promote hunting more. Some schools will allow you to promote it more, but the idea is that to get them involved in the outdoors, and some of those people will transition into hunters and fishermen. And from that group, we twice a year have conducted what we call the safety extravaganza, and it's shooting, archery, field excellency trials for youth, I believe.
Yep.
And so we have about 125 kids that come out to a venue that we pick, and we put them into teams or break them down by schools, and we have 6 or 7 different stations. We have pistol, rifle, shotgun, muzzle loader, and then the field excellency, shoot or don't shoot type of program. And I ran the rifle range for about 7 or 8 years. And what you get, and it's pulled a lot from the DFW area. And what you get is a lot of urban kids that have never had a chance to shoot a gun.
Sure.
Wow.
And a lot of them are single parent families that have never had a chance to come out there. And we hear that all the time from the parents. We say, we love it. My child would never have an opportunity. And I know the NRA is really big in this. And the foundation has supported the NRA's efforts in a big, big way and will continue to. But it's so critical for what we're talking about, shooting sports and hunting. It's so critical to have them involved. And this is a great program. My son went through it. My son's now 30 years old. He went through it when he was about 12 and had a great time. And it made an impact not only on him but me. It's kind of what prompted me to get more and more involved with DSC.
Well, that's funny because this particular program, I look and relate it back to what I do with the NRA and how we really have a base goal that we've been working on from the friend standpoint for like 25 years now. And our general concept is, those children that are really, let's say, age 8 to 18, and a lot of them from metropolitan areas that maybe are from single-family parents, a lot of them have the drive and the want to experience things, but they don't have the opportunity.
Right.
And so the NRA Foundation, a lot of the money that we grant out, in fact, multi-millions of dollars every year, goes directly to youth-related programs. Now, that's going to be 4-H or Boy Scouts or anything else. But this type of a program is exactly what we look for to support, because the cool thing is, I think if we can teach firearms and hunting to kids that are in between 8 and 18, firearms teaches responsibility.
Absolutely.
And responsibility, once they've learned that, maybe when they turn 18, we're going to lose them for a little while, right? They're going to either start into college, start into a new career, work, or whatever. But when they get past that stage, they're going to come back to the fold. And so I think that responsibility truly does raise people that think consciously about things and doesn't look at a firearm or hunting as the TV media evil scenario.
Yeah,
so
no question.
I applaud you guys for this program. That is absolutely fantastic.
Well, and then the other side of the coin is in addition to the responsibility and the respect for firearms and the understanding that the firearm is not the enemy. It's a tool. It's a tool, right?
Takes someone to pull the trigger.
Well, exactly. But you also, anybody that hunts knows what kind of education hunting gives you.
Yes.
There's nobody that knows the outdoors like hunters do. In my personal opinion, there's no better conservationist than a hunter, and to start them at an early age, especially with what they're getting on the other side, is hunters are bad.
Yeah.
And hunters are evil, and if you shame them whenever you can. And this is an opportunity. We look for opportunities, whether it's through the NRA program or Outdoor Tomorrow Fund, or we also support Boy Scouts and 4-H and the Shooting Sports Foundation. So, but we need to recruit hunters.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
And so that's our focus right now. My personal focus as president of the foundation is to find opportunities to get kids in the field.
And it's so critical. I mean, education right now is the best thing that we can do is educate the kids. But I mean, I look at this venue and say, in 20 years, is this going to be here? Because our 10 years, there's a lot of people here that have been doing this for a heck of a long time that aren't going to be doing it for long. So, our next generation of conservation is so important, because if they don't want to do this stuff, these types of events won't be supported.
Well, that's exactly right. And one of the other things that's a little different for us is our kids under 12 are free, and you don't have to actually be a member of DSC to join. But we encourage families to bring kids here. I can tell you that I know a lot of people who grew up like me, maybe as a duck hunter, dove hunter, and thought one day I'd like to go to Africa. But to get them and have them walk around here and think, okay, this is how I can do it, and it's really not as expensive. I thought, well, man, we need to rather than put barriers up to kids and discourage them from learning and participating, we need to roll out the red carpet.
I agree. I couldn't agree anymore. Richard, just to kind of close out here, so looking at media, I know DSC, clearly from a social media standpoint, or also some of the publications you guys provide, I mean, clearly as an outreach opportunity for people to see what you guys are doing. But maybe talk a little bit about, you guys do a quarterly newsletter, I think, called Camp Talk, and then you've got your magazine, or monthly newsletter, and then the quarterly magazine, Game Trails. Maybe talk a little bit about those publications.
Sure. You're right. Camp Talk is, I think, there are 11 issues out of the year, and the Game Trails is a high-quality production, glossy publication that comes out quarterly. And we've got a much greater social media presence than we had before, and really coinciding with the growth of Dallas Safari Club, and I think in large part due to it. We developed a relationship with Safari Classics. We became the title sponsor of Safari Classics tracks across Africa. But that's that's helped us get the word about Dallas Safari Club out there, and that's also helped us because the residual effect is it brings more attention to the club, it brings more people to the show, it helps us raise more money, and then we turn around and grant it back out.
Give it back
And
away.
that's the thing about the foundation, too. We're transparent. You look at our website right now, and you can see every grant that we've ever made. We don't put the dollar amount down, but we want people to know where their money goes. And the only way we're going to get people to continue to support us and support us in a big way is for them to be comfortable that their money's being well spent.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so
awesome.
comfortable with grants to the NRA and the NRA Foundation. Our money is well spent.
That's awesome.
Well,
That
I think
is
about
really good.
hunters want to know where their meat comes from. Some people want to know where their money goes, right? And when people go to these types of events, pay their, $1,500 life membership or whatever, a lot of times people want to know in foundations where their money goes, and it's great to be transparent and show that, hey, we did shooting sports, we did the safety extravaganza where we had 200 kids and showed them, safety, gun safety and rifle safety. So that to me is really the cornerstone of these foundations.
I think a big movement in today's day and age too is the farm to table type of concept, and you talked about trying to get more hunters out there. For anybody that's listening, and most of our audience that's listening are going to be hunters because it's a hunting fishing podcast, but for those guys that are listening to this, really take action. If you have a neighbor that doesn't hunt, that's ever expressed an interest, or if their kid has expressed an interest, I challenge everybody to try to take one new hunter a year.
Right.
Because, like you said, our population of hunters is dropping. I love our sport, and I hate to say this, but when I was growing up, my dad was like, okay, don't tell anybody that we do this, and don't tell them where we go, and we were that.
It was very private.
It was very private. And that was cool. But at the same time, my view now as an older hunter is, man, I love it when my boy bragging to his friends about him killing something, and one of his, teenage friends goes, well, I want to go hunting.
Yeah.
And so the first thing I always challenge them to do is I'm like, okay, well, here's the deal. You, not me, you have to go take your hunter safety class.
Right.
I said, but if you'll take your hunter safety class and show me your card that you've passed, I said, I can provide a gun, I can provide optics, I can provide everything, and then we will find you an opportunity to go hunting.
Yeah, it's critical. And everybody's got their personal story. My father wasn't a hunter. I grew up on the Texas coast, good duck hunting, one of our neighbors finally asked me to go, and boy, from that point forward, I was hooked. And so you have to seize those opportunities. That's one of the things I like about the programs that we've supported. But there's got to be a better way, a more efficient way for us to actually get kids in the field. And you can think of it. It's easy to do dove hunts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The deer
Pheasant
hunt's a little
hunts.
harder to coordinate and things, But boy, they're just few. I don't know too many kids that have actually gone out and hunted and decided that they hated it.
And that's the thing. In the media world today, getting them away from devices and things that, clearly right now, it's our world. It's not going away. We know it's probably only going to get more. But still, as kids, that's what we did. When I was a kid, we had a BB gun and we went out and we shot doves or we shot pigeons and then of course the 22 comes into the mix, and then you're out shooting gophers and squirrels. Right. That is becoming a lost art with kids today, and it scares me because I want that to be for me in 25 more years, and I want someone like Jason's son, who's 13 years old, to be able to have the same experiences I had for the next 20 to 30 years, right?
Yeah, and you mentioned, you're talking about whether this is going to be here 10 and 20 years, 10 years. Somebody said it to me the other day that 2018 is going to be a watershed year for hunting. We've got so many different issues, whether it's fish and wildlife and imports, captive bred lion hunting, that's a big deal in South Africa right now.
Privatization of public lands right now, that's a big one.
I think that I'm really interested in addressing the problem right now. And I don't discount the need to have to make sure we have hunters available in 20 years, or when our kids mature. I think that's an extremely important issue. I really think we've got a serious problem in the next 5 or 6 or 7 years, and it worries me that. And I just got finished obviously earlier today with a great workshop on communicating our issues. And I'm glad to see that we're all kind of coming together. And as somebody said, our unified voice is a much stronger voice than our individual voice. People have said that before, and I think we've got an opportunity to actually come up with a unified voice. And boy, when you put NRA and SCI and Dallas and Houston and all those people together, and there's a lot more of them, but it's a formidable a group of organizations. And
that's a powerhouse of people there.
We have some serious, powerful, and influential individuals throughout all the different organizations, and adding Ducks Unlimited in Turkey and elks and deer and wildlife conservation groups all pulling together to have that same voice. Once again, we just got to make sure that we all are kind of on the same page, and hopefully we can do that, because I think you're right. We're in that weird void right now where we have opportunities to expand, but we also have places where if we don't take advantage of this time frame that we're in right now to protect our rights, that we don't know what the next administration could do to us.
Right. I wrote an article for Game Trails or Camp Talk about exactly that. We have a window where we have an opportunity to get stuff done here, and we can't take advantage. We can't take it for granted. And I think that there's, some of the things we have started right now are gonna pay off. I think that the Hunters Leadership Forum, with what NRA is doing, the We Hunt for Life campaign that Dallas Safari Club is doing, we have a 100-foot by 200-foot outdoor board on a parking garage over here about a quarter of a mile away that has a big image of a male lion, and the graphics are, and the fight to save his species, hunters are his best allies, and we have good stories to tell. We're really good about preaching to the choir, but we need and we don't need to convince anti-hunters to hunt. We need to convince the people that are open-minded already that what we do is good. And like you said, be proud to say that you're a hunter. You don't have to hide anymore. And with the locavore movement, we have an opportunity here. To some degree, the stars are aligning for us.
Yes.
You can tell people all day long about how many Hunters for the Hungry, 2.1 million pounds, which translates to 8 million meals. In Africa, only from one concession only, Haldane's concession, he's given almost 150,000 pounds in the last 3 years. Zambia gave 285. Over there, that converts to almost 1 million meals.
That's
right
incredible.
there from
Wow.
game. So, but then you get to the locavore and you say, boy, there's, what better, pure form of protein is it from there than a deer or an elk or a pronghorn or a duck or a dove or whatever. So we've got good stories to tell. We just have to be better about telling them.
I agree. I mean, when you look at everything that's happening with all the organizations, and there's small chapters doing this, and obviously DSC and the foundation, but you're right. I mean, we need to promote and tell these good stories, and we're not always good about that, right? Because we're Americans and we charge on. Once we get one thing done, we're on to the next challenge, right?
And we're not we don't boast about that stuff.
Right.
What do we say? It's the best kept secret in the organization is we're not out there to just put it in their face and say, oh, look at what we did. We're like, well, you should recognize what we did.
Right.
Yet sometimes I'm thinking that we gotta do that.
No, and I agree, and I think that's, and I can easily be too critical. I don't think we've done a good job of getting the message. We've let other people define it for us for too long. We were talking about the negative connotation of trophy hunting earlier today. We let that happen. We didn't stop it we didn't address it when we could, and that's one of the reasons why we're not worried about putting a billboard up that's controversial, that might be a little bit provocative to people. We want to engage. We want people to click on that website, because if they do, they go to the foundation's website, they're going to see that very same image. They click on that image, they're going to have 15 different stories that talks about the benefits of lion hunting, and to lions, to the populations, to other wildlife, to the wilderness areas. And so we need to engage people in a different way. We need to get them, we need to make them aware of these good stories, because it's whether it's Africa or whether it's white-tailed deer, whether it's Rocky Mountain elk or wild turkey or quail or whatever, we've got so many good stories to tell just from the population protection standpoint.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
there's
amen
no doubt
to that.
Well, cool. This has been a great conversation, Richard. I appreciate your insight, and I know I've taken away a lot of things based on, this is my first DSC. I've been to some of the SCI shows in the past, but always knew about Dallas Safari, but really didn't understand kind of the history. And I think this helps me, and obviously will give our listeners a little bit more of a insight about kind of what the foundation is about and kind of what your guys' vision is. And thinking about vision, and we can kind of close with that. I mean, as being president of the foundation, I mean, clearly, people get put in leadership positions because they have vision, they have strategy. In your mind, what do you see? I mean, is there a 5-year roadmap? Is there a 10-year roadmap? Is it a day-to-day? Is it a 1 year? I mean, what's your thoughts on where this could go?
Yeah, there's an element of each and all of it. I mean, you have to have a big picture. And our big picture, and I wish I could think of it. I helped draft it. But the DSC has a mission statement. It's a society that values wildlife. And we hunters all understand that hunters value wildlife, and a strong regulated hunting form of wildlife management is the best thing for wildlife. And so short term, it's hard to gauge how successful your campaign is, but feedback is one. And so short term, I want to figure out that we're reaching people, and that we're engaging with people, and we're getting them to think. I'm encouraged every time there's a bad story, that whether it's Cecil or anything like that comes out, there are always good stories that follow it from unexpected sources. You see New York Times op-ed pieces. You see National Geographic occasionally. You see other groups that never would say a kind thing about hunting, but all of a sudden there's enough sense for me that there are people out there that don't like what we do, don't necessarily support it, maybe don't like, not that I don't like it, but there seems to be a willingness of people to listen now. And so I'm one of the takeaways I have is, thank God that the NRA is doing what they're doing. Thank God that Dallas Safari Club has stepped up and decided that rather than wait for people to come forward, we're actually doing something, and others are doing it as well.
Absolutely.
And so I want to see how that plays out. But ultimately, we want our kids and we want our grandkids to be able to hunt Africa or New Zealand. We want them to, we've lost grizzly bear in BC. We're not giving up on that. We want our kids to have those same opportunities, and to learn the value of regulated hunting and what it means to the survival of wildlife. It's not so much about hunting. It is and it's not. But my vision of the Eden for wildlife doesn't look like a zoo. It looks like wild Africa.
Yeah.
I don't want my kids to think that the only time that they're ever going to see a ostrich is when it sticks its head in your car and tries to eat out of your hand. And there are places in South Africa and parts of Southern Africa right now where that's, I'm not a slam on photo safaris at all, but I want there to be wild. I want there to be a wild African scenario, and whether it's I want there to be wild New Zealand, and I want I think we have a responsibility, and I hope we're wise enough to recognize it.
I love that vision, and one thing that really comes to my mind is, and you had kind of touched on it in regards to negative press and the lion situation, is I still remember something that came out of the actual lion scenario where the actual guy that was the one that was in charge of keeping eye on Cecil and all that stuff openly said, without these animals having value, that the local people will just kill them all.
Right.
There will be no lions for anybody anywhere if they don't actually place a value on them. And I felt that was really profound, since this was the guy that was really doing the study on the animals and basically there living in Zimbabwe. And he openly said, hey, look, this is a bad situation. Maybe it wasn't all played out perfectly, but the reality is, if you say, okay, we're no longer going to do this anymore, he goes, all my projects will dry up. He goes, the locals around here will, as soon as that cat goes anywhere near their livestock, they'll slaughter them all on site, and we will have no more lions. And the funny part to me is that was on a national broadcast scenario, but they only snipped him like 12 seconds.
Yep.
And for anybody that wasn't really paying attention, they lost it.
I know the man that said it.
Yeah.
And we've actually, DSC has supported Oxford University and Wild Crew, the people that were performing that. In fact, I think our executive director pointed out to me the other day, our president did, there's a pretty good chance we actually paid for the collar that was on Cecil's neck.
Wow, that's amazing.
So we've supported it, and Hunter's dollars provide 80% of the budget for Zimbabwe parks.
How many people know that, right?
Yeah, but even if you tell them, they're not going to talk about it. It's like you said, they're not going to mention that part about the people that. Now, some of those people admit that begrudgingly, but it's a fact, and that's another thing we need to get that information out there, that it's not just hunters. They'll discount what we say. They'll say, well, of course, what else are you going to say? But when you get a Dr. Rosie Cooney from the IUCN, or you get David McDonald, one of the Oxford University people, you get Paula White, you get some of these other people, and then you get some people that have nothing to do with hunting. I don't know if y'all know the show called Adam Ruins Everything, but there was a great piece on it's a show about challenging conventional wisdom, and he chose trophy hunting, and he basically said, trophy hunting is not nearly as bad as you say, and then he explained why. And so we're getting people outside of the hunting community and to recognize some of the things. And that's one of the things that you mentioned. What's your long-term vision or whatever? It's to educate the non-hunting public, not so much the anti-hunting public, but the non-hunting public, who I think, in various degrees, supports what we do.
I think you're right. The farm-to-table movement with the younger.
They just
I'm going to call them kids because I have gray hair now too.
Yeah.
The younger generation that are actually going, you know what, I want to know what I'm putting into my body. I think those individuals are really stepping forward, and they're going to be part of our movement to help us go forward.
You're right. And I think you, whether it's the locavore movement, whether it's whether you have to seize on the opportunity, whether it's Cecil and 6 months ago Cecil's son Xanda was killed. You have to take advantage of the opportunity. You have to identify what that market, and that's another thing that came out of this workshop we were talking about earlier. Your message might be slightly different to the people that are involved in the locavore movement than it would be to the younger group, or the group that's more concerned about the conservation benefits of what you do.
Yes.
We've got good stories to tell. And sometimes you have to be a little provocative in order to get people to click on your site or come to your Facebook page. Or
it's all about approach.
It is.
It's a big part of it. But I think at the end of the day, I think we know our work is never done in this front, and it's efforts like DSC, NRA, obviously a lot of the organizations that. I think collaboration is important. I know Jason was talking a little earlier about, collaborations with DSC, sending, different grants, across the 501c3s. I mean, doing stuff like that. The only way that you can, I think, combat a lot of this is to collaborate and to challenge that convention and build these organizations together.
Yeah. Well, and I'll mess up the quote, but there's definitely strength in numbers, and when you get the organizations that we're talking about together and get them completely on the same page, it's a powerhouse. It's a force to be reckoned with, and I think every day I think we're closer and closer to that. I just turned 60. I want to see more results faster. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I want to do it. And so that's one of the reasons why, frankly, DSC stepped up and took action. That's one of the reasons why we're educating the public, why we've got that billboard out there, why we're auctioning off black rhino permits and taking the heat for it. We decided that time to talk is done. We have to take action, and we still would rather combine forces.
Yeah,
and I think we will.
Yeah,
power in numbers.
Here's a man that's working on the same thing, walking our way here.
Yes, it is. NRA strikes again. Chilcote's ignoring me anyway.
Some of the best ideas have come over campfire stories. To your point,
that's exactly right. That's
absolutely.
Right. We were just talking about you, Don.
Yeah, we won't say it, but everybody's listening to us, Don.
So with that, Richard, thank you. Thanks for carving out some time with us just to kind of share the story of DSC. And any closing comments or remarks you'd like to leave with the listeners today?
No, only that, number one, I appreciate you guys giving us the opportunity. We appreciate the NRA's, all the things that NRA does, not only for Second Amendment and gun owners, but for hunters as well. NRA is one of the oldest hunting organizations in the country, and we appreciate everything that's done. I think we've got a great message to tell and we're a hunting or conservation organization. We've got strength there. NRA is a fighting organization, and it's got the ability to fight and get the message out there. And so I think that's a pretty good combination. And we look forward to working with the NRA. We look forward to NRA coming back in May here, pretty darn quick, right around the corner.
National convention right around the corner.
But again, thank you both for giving me the opportunity to spend a few minutes with you and your listeners.
One last thing. If they wanted to get a hold of DSC, how do they do that?
DSC's website is www.biggame.org, and they can learn everything from membership to information about the convention. If they want to learn about the foundation, dscf.org. And again, as I mentioned, we've got every single grant we've ever made. We've got they have to figure out how they can support if they want to support. And see the types of programs that we support. So, and after things settle down and the office opens back up, we let staff have a little bit of time off to recover, but they can call the office too as well.
Sure.
So, and we'd love to have them join. Like I said, we're talking about membership level. We've got a membership level that hopefully appeals to somebody and to everybody, and whether it's locally or through chapters. That also helps us spread our mission, our mission and message.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Well, thanks everyone for listening. Sign up, check out DSC's website, join a foundation, join one of the chapters, come to the convention, absolutely, and just see the work of art that happens, during these conventions. I think it's remarkable the amount of effort that goes into these. So anyway, thanks everyone for listening. Richard, thanks again. Jason, thanks for jumping on with us, and we'll catch you guys again for another venture on the RNA Outdoors podcast. Hey everyone, this is Lucas Paw, host of the RNA Outdoors podcast. Please check out Podbean and iTunes. If you have an iPhone or iPad, go to the podcast app on your device, search for RNA Outdoors, and hit the purple subscribe button. When doing this, it will automatically upload when new podcasts are loaded, and they will download into your queue. For Android users, you can access the podcast through Podbean, Stitcher, or use our website, www.rnaoutdoors.com/podcast. In addition, under the RNA Outdoors podcast channel, please leave a review and a 5-star rating. These reviews help boost our popularity and outreach. You can also follow us on our social media outlets, Twitter at RNA Outdoors, Facebook, RNA Outdoors, and Instagram, Rod and Arrow Outdoors. All links are in the show notes as well. If you like what you've heard, we hope you'll pass along our channel to your friends and colleagues. Keep up the good fight. We cannot sit by and watch the public lands devoted to wildlife protection wither away. There's simply too much at stake. Make your voice heard, speak up, and get involved with conservation efforts, and know that every little bit helps. As we say on the mountain, go farther, stay longer.